Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
Yes, ma'am.
you can hear me, no, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay.
ठीक है,
I'll
ठीक.
wait for the 4 o'clock. Yeah,
Yes,
ठीक.
ma'am. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it builds up or develops creativity. Okay. Now, when this creativity is developing, there are many things which happen on its own, and those are called as nurturant effects. The model is effective only for instructional effects, but along with the model, along with the instructional effects, there are other effects also happening because there is some change in the environment. The environment, student experiences that change, and those models, those changes are seen. So the main thing here is you get what the model is giving you to your children. At the same time, there are many changes that happen. For example, you're teaching role play. Along with role play, as a model, you will make them aware of social environment. You will make them aware about uh, certain rules, regulations, how a particular role is it, a particular role or work is important. The empathy is developed towards those people. At the same time, they will understand a number of other things which go group development will take place, team spirit will be built, cooperation, collaboration will work, and hence along with one model you have number of things happening. New mindset is developed and new results are achieved. Then the second is syntax or the phases of the model. Syntax or phasing of a model is the mode in action. The sequences how we are going to put the model in picture. A particular model have 2 steps. Some model may have 5 steps. Some may have 7 steps, depending on the type of model. Now, all this thing to take place, you need a proper social system. So the social system describes the learners and teachers' role, their relationship, and the kind of norms that are encouraged during that teaching of that particular model. The leadership role of teacher varies greatly from model. At times, she is a teacher teaching. At times, in some model, she's a facilitator. In some, she's just a guide. So it depends. Principles of reactions. The principles of reactions tell the teacher how to regard the learner's response to what the learner does. Now, the teacher may have thought of certain objectives, but the student may respond in some other way. So, the principles of reaction will help the teacher to understand how the student is thinking, how the student is responding. The support system. What is the support system that you will require to take this model, to plan this model of teaching? Like you need human skills, you need to know the model, what capacities are required, what technical facilities are required, books required, what is required. All that is your support system. Okay, so this was basically about the different models and what each model has. Now we come to what is called as concept attainment model, which is also called as CAM. Now this model is based on Bruner's work. Jerome Bruner, his instructional strategy, and this model is based on his thinking, his contribution to cognitive learning theory and human cognitive psychology in the field of education. This model helps students to understand and learn concepts by identifying attributes or key features through a process of analysis, comparison, contrasting of the different examples that are given by the teacher. Now, this entire model can be played like a game in the class, and the student will learn a particular concept. Now, this concept, as I said, CAM, has three ways of teaching. One is the reception model, one is the selection model, and one is unorganized model. Today, we will see the selection model, how the selection model works, and how you can use this model to teach a concept in your class. Now, concept attainment model, when you do this concept attainment model in the class, your instructional effects will be the student will understand the nature of the concept. The student will improve concept building strategies and will understand the specific concepts. Along with this, the student will also undergo and learn on its own what is inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is after seeing a number of examples, maybe you try to find what is common and then you come to a phrase and you define whatever you have found out. You build a hypothesis. The student will be awareness of the alternative perspectives. Since when the concept is being played and shown to the student has to think in different ways. The child or the student will develop an awareness of alternative perspectives. He will develop a tolerance to ambiguity, which is very, very important. He will develop this tolerance, so he will be more acceptable, sensitive on logical reasoning and communication. There will be when you keep doing, you cannot teach only one concept once in a year and leave this model. You have to plan and find out which concepts you can teach and teach through this model. So at the end of the year, you will find that logical reasoning in communication also is developed in the child. For example, then you come elements of an concept. To understand elements of a concept, first is the name of the concept. Here I have taken a very simple example. You are teaching mammals. So your concept name is called as it is mammals. Okay. Now there are positive examples and negative examples. If you see here, these all are positive examples. And there will be some negative examples which do not belong to this particular class. Now, attributes. Attributes are those which are essential factors and which are non-essential factors. If you see generally all mammals, they have 4 legs, quadrupeds, right? So that becomes an essential attribute. If you see all mammals, exceptions you leave aside, they all give birth to young ones directly. So that becomes their essential attribute. All of them have an exoskeleton. Even we have a hairy exoskeleton. So that becomes an essential attribute. All mammals have external ear, which is called as pinna. So that becomes an essential attribute. So students will start understanding when you give one by one examples. And the non-essentials are which may be present, which may be not be present. For example, long legs, what we see in giraffe, may not be essential. A hairy, furry exoskeleton may not be essential attribute. So the student will start finding out what is required and what is not required. He will attribute values. Values, when you say how important that attribute is, and finally they will define what that concept was. I do understand it's a little abstract concept, but you need to understand. Now, this model has three phases. In the first phase, the teacher presents the data and definition of the concept. Now, how does the teacher present the data? The teacher presents labeled example. For example, the teacher may present a zebra. The teacher will present the first example, which has all the essential attributes or some attributes, depends on. She may present a zebra as the first example. Then she may present a cat as a second attribute. So the student starts comparing what is common in cat and zebra and what is essential. The third example could be a snake, which the teacher shows a negative example. The teacher may show a bird, which is a negative example, and the children will start generating and testing hypotheses. So a lot of examples keep going in the concept, positive, negative, till the child can generate what are the essential attributes, and they will come out with a definition with the help of essential attributes. Second phase, once this whole thing is done, testing the attainment of the concept. Pupils identify, given additional unlabeled example teacher will produce. They may be positive, they may be negative, but the teacher will produce and the students will name them as positive, yes or negative. Then the teacher confirms the hypothesis, names the concept, and restates the definition according to essential attributes. Now, in phase one, the student gives the definition, which may not be the total correct one which is required. Once the teacher knows that the student has understood, she will give the correct definition to the pupils if the need is. And then the students can give some more examples. So reinforcement takes place. Third phase, analysis of the thinking following other activities. Like the teacher, the main part of the model is the third phase, where she will make them understand the thinking process. So this model trains children to think in a particular way. So the pupil describes through thoughts, pupil describes role of hypothesis and attributes. Pupil discusses type and number of hypotheses. The pupil may have made 10, 15 hypotheses, but slowly, they keep cutting off and finally they may land up only with 1 or 2 hypotheses. Like for example, the mammals give birth to young ones. Non-mammals do not give birth to young ones. So many things are there, so many attributes are there, which they keep studying and then they will describe. So the thinking pattern becomes very, very, very important. Now, when you're presenting the concept, you could either present it as a holistic, like as I said, when you're talking about mammals, you could give the whole picture of what a mammal is to the child. So the child takes the first example as the main one, which has all the attributes and lists down the number of attributes that they can. Attributes means the essential features that are there in that particular concept. In The other strategy could be one by one you present and the child keeps changing the hypothesis and keeps adding the hypothesis, which is called as partistic strategy. Now, principles of reaction, remember these are the steps which I told you. The teacher emphasizes on hypothetical nature of discussion. The teacher will make the students discuss the nature, the hypothesis that they created. And that is very, very important because we are trying to teach the child to think. Focus attention on specific features of examples and assist students in discussing and evaluating their thinking strategies. If you remember the taxonomy or the objectives that you write in your lesson plans, evaluating is at a very high stage in Bloom's taxonomy, where student has to evaluate and judge. So you can imagine how high you are taking your students to think when you do this model with them. Now, what are the different things that you may require social system? Teacher controls the action but encourages students teacher interaction, student interaction. So the teacher is in control of the entire situation, but she is helping them to think, to interact, and to talk. Inductive process follows where the child starts inductive thinking, coming to, a number of hypotheses are created. So they start thinking in a logical way. Now, what is the support system that is required refers to the books that you may need. If you're going to use the board, you may need chalk. If you're going to use a PPT, a laptop, you may need surfing of the net, you will need internet and other self-instructional system. You need sound, you need music, depends on how you want to present. Now, second is carefully select and organized material in the form of example. Just don't take too many examples. Just don't take too many things and try to present in a different mode. See what is the right requirement of that particular topic. To conclude, our environment is very complex and diverse. And any attempt to register differences in different objects and events that we perceive around us bring a lot of change. And this is what you need to put across when you're doing this entire model and help children to attain the highest level of the concept through inductive thinking process. Let me go ahead. Now, if you want to write a lesson plan, these are some of the guidelines for preparing a lesson plan. Step 1 is select a concept. We will stick to this MEML concept so that it is easy for you to understand. Locate the concept of a discipline. It may be any subject, maths, social studies, English. In languages, this may be a little difficult, but still you could try. Locate a concept of a discipline in a subject. Check whether the idea is a generalization or a concept. Don't take something where the child has to generalize. Take a concept. Okay? Determine the scope of the concept. When you determine the scope of the concept means the scope of the concept, how large or how in depth the concept is, the number of generalizations relating to one concept to another concept, and the significance of generalization that uses these concepts. Once you have selected your concept, go to the second level. Step 2, analyze the concept. You have to determine what are the essential attributes of this particular concept. Determine non-essential attributes of this particular concept that you have chosen. So you may list them down so that you have these concept attributes with you. If you go to the class unprepared, you will not be able to differentiate between the essential and non-essential attributes. Third step is determine objectives. Determine objectives for teaching this concept. Why are you teaching this concept? Your objectives have to be there. List behavior objectives that student will accomplish after learning this concept. What are the learning outcomes after learning this particular concept? Step 4, determine the most appropriate medium for presentation. You feel you want to show a video, fine. You feel you just want to use the chalkboard, fine. So find out what is the most appropriate way. Medium means how you're going to teach it. Generate positive examples which would contain all the attributes of the concept. You have to find examples now. If you don't have example, you have to generate examples so that they have all the positive attributes. Then you have to generate negative examples which may have some of the attributes of the concept. Check examples for variety, consequence, and organize the presentation of the examples. All examples have to be presented one at a time. Fifth step, presentation of the data and identification of concept. Play this as a game, as I told you right in the beginning. State the purpose of the game, why you want to play this game. Don't tell them the concept, but tell them why you want to play this game. Explain the procedure. You may set rules for this game. Inform learners that every positive example contains all essential attributes. The task is to develop hypothesis about the concept. Paper, pen has to be ready with the students. Present the unit, the examples. Ask learners to compare the attributes of the positive examples with negative examples. Ask learners to generate hypotheses. Present more examples. Ask them to test their hypothesis, whether they are positive, right, or they have to remove them, and guide learners to state a definition accordingly to the essential attributes. So you have come to phase 1 of the CAM model here. Next step is present additional unlabeled example. As I said right in the beginning, what goes in the short-term memory, you need to reinforce to go it into long-term memory. So present additional unlabeled examples. Ask learners to identify additional unlabeled examples as positive or negative. Ask them to supply their own examples to fit the concept. You have to be ready here because they may come out with different examples. Next, step 7, that is the phase 3 of the model, analysis of thinking, which is very, very important. Ask learners to describe the thinking process they used in attending the concept. Most of the times we teach, but we don't stress on the thinking process, which is very, very important. Ask learners to reflect on the roles of attributes and the concept in the thinking strategy. Why did they call a particular hypothesis? Why did they frame? Why did they remove it? All this you need to discuss. Ask learners to evaluate effectiveness of the strategy that they used to find out the concept. And this is how you will write your lesson plan. You will define what we just went through. You will definition of the concept. First is the name of the concept, subject, standard, then the definition, essential attributes, non-essential attributes, positive examples, negative examples, and unlabeled examples. Okay, I'll give you one maths example here. We'll just go through one lesson plan. Name of the concept is inscribed angle of grade 10. Definition is whatever the definition I have put in, I will not read. Essential attribute of this is it has 3 essential attributes. Angle, vertices should lie on the arc of the angle, and each arm should contain an end point of the arc. These are the essential attributes. What are non-essential? Even a non-science person can try to understand this lesson plan. So you will be able to make your own lesson plan in your own subject. Non-essential attribute is type of angle could be any, acute, obtuse, right. Size of the arc, major, minor, semicircle could be any. But there has to be an angle. The vertex should lie on the arc of the angle, and each arm should contain an end point of the arc. Now I could not show one example, so I put them all together. Now these are the positive examples. Just look at them very carefully. And these are the negative examples. Now there is a circle in positive, there is an angle and the arc, right? The angle could be any positive, acute, obtuse, anything. If you see the negative examples, you will see the angle outside, right? The angle here is inside, but other places it is outside. The angles are also different. So the student could make an hypothesis here that angle is inside the circle. The two arms are bisecting here, okay? Some more positive, again the angle is inside all three. You can see here it is lying on the circumference of the circle. So these become your negative examples. Now you present unlabeled example one by one and you ask your students to check out which is positive and which is negative. You also can try to find out, like this is positive, right? You could put yes. Is this positive? This one is positive. This is not. This is positive. This is not. So the student, this is not a circle, so it is not. So the student will try to understand the negative and positive. Sorry. Okay. So this is how they will generate. I want to show you one more example. This was like a paper pen, you're drawing on the blackboard. So this was an example where the medium is a chalkboard. I will show you one more example. I will just stop presenting this slide and I will go and open another one. Just a minute. Just a minute. One. This is the one which I would show maybe like a PPT. Is it seen? Someone could put yes. Can you see? Okay. Now here I will show you one by one how you could show to the students. Positive example. You show this example. Then you show a negative example. Okay. Here I have taken the concept of a mammal. So you can see the first attribute is showing, example is showing maximum attributes, right? Then I show one more positive example. And then I show a negative example. So you need to give time for the students to judge. You could also do it for yourself on a paper and try to find out what are the essential attributes. Okay. I go to the third example. This is my positive example and a negative example is this. Right? Try to understand, try to think, see whether this example has all the attributes what I showed you in the first one or something is more additional here. Does this also both belong to the same? Is there something same, different? This is a positive example. This is a negative example. Here you can see the young ones. Here you can see eggs are laid, the young ones will hatch out. Here they are given birth directly, maybe. This is a positive example, a negative example. When you see, they all are animals, right? They all are animals, but they belong to different. One where I'm showing positive has all one type of attributes. Another positive example and a negative example, right? You need to think and put across. Since you all are all teachers, you all know the concept, but when children are learning a new concept, it takes time. Another positive example and a negative example. A positive example and a negative example. Try to put in examples which bring lot of variation. Then you put all the positive examples together, like you show one, so that they start checking for the essential attributes. Now, if the student sees this, the student knows that the external ear is there. They all know dog has 4 legs, so quadra. There is an exoskeleton fur down there. Nostrils are there. There is, they will try to find out. This is another example. They will label whether it is yes or no. Another example, these are unlabeled examples that I'm giving. They will tell whether it is positive or negative after trying to find out. This is another example. So with this, the child comes to know what it is, right? So this was how the model should be, and that is how you should put across to your students. After that, you tell them to define, and after defining, you give the definition. Now, in the beginning, I had told you when you give a model, there are certain instructional attainment that the child obtains, develops, instructional effects. Now, sorry. The concept attainment model, nature of the concept, the student understands. Because you're doing that model, the student is understanding the nature of the concept. It improved concept building strategy of the child. So the student will understand and develop the strategy, improve his concept building thought process. The student specific concepts will be developed because of the model. Inductive reasoning will be developed in the student. These are the direct effects of the model. But as the model proceeds, there are certain indirect effects or nurturant effects which are happening, which you have not planned, but they happen because of the model. One is awareness of alternative perspectives. They will start thinking in different direction. The variation of thought process will come. Student will start thinking divergently, not focusing at one point, but in divergent thoughts. So, awareness of alternate perspective. So, when there is any problem in life also, the student will sit and try to think in different directions. So, we are training the child to think in a divergent manner. Tolerance of ambiguity, but appreciation of logic. Student will develop the tolerance power. Student will start appreciating the logical thinking process, which is very, very important today. We are saying today education should be very real, learning should be taken to real life. And that is what we are teaching through this simple model of CAM. Sensitivity to logical reasoning in communication. As the child is going to present the attributes, as the child is going to talk to you about the various attributes, he is going to become sensitive towards the logical reasoning in communication. Since they all are communicating, the tolerance, the respect for each other will be developed. Listening skills will be developed. When there is a discussion happening, the students will listen to each other because they all are learning from that. So respect to listening will, respect to the other students' thought process will develop. So in such a small concept development model, you are bringing in so many skills in your classroom. And if you try to, there are certain students who do not speak out, they will develop communication skills. Maybe first, second time they may not speak, but slowly, slowly, as you keep going, they will know how to communicate. Along with them, your concepts will become stronger because you will start finding out new examples, new attributes, and new positive, negative attributes, which will lead to better understanding of the concept as a teacher for you. And this is very, very important because along with the student, you will also grow. So this was one small model which you could do in your schools. You could plan. Now we have come to the end of the session of 21-22. New session is going to start 22-23. In each subject, try to find out at least 6 concepts which you could train and teach through concept attainment model. When you take 6 topics, you know this many topics, concepts you need to develop through CAM, as this is called. And you all subject teachers could sit together, do brainstorming, find out examples, find out the attributes. Then you could present the topic to the non-subject teachers when you're doing for the first time and try to see how the effect is. Modify a little bit and then plan and do it in your class. If you do it in your class, 6 topics, we have minimum 5 subjects taught. Rest are, there are number of other subjects, but 5 main subjects, 2 languages, science, history, geography. If each teacher takes 5 topics, 6 topics, as I said, 6 5s are 30. At the end of the year, the child will understand the concept attainment model. The child will develop a different style of thinking, and you will see a difference in your student itself. So by doing a small model in your class, you can bring a lot of change, which is the need of the hour, because you're going to make them think. You're going to make them, train them to think. So that is how this model will help. So that was concept attainment model, which I thought would help to bring a lot of change. I'll just go again once the steps of CAM because I want you all to practice. And since it's not a face-to-face session, it takes little time to understand. So I'll just go through quickly the steps. I don't want this. Just a minute. I'll just go to the steps so that I know at least some of y'all will start doing this model. I'll come to step 1. Just a minute. 2 minutes. Yes. As I said, step 1, you will locate the concept. You will check the idea. Then you will determine the scope of the concept. Then you will analyze the concept, determine the essential attribute and the non-essential attributes. Then you will determine the objective for teaching the concept, list behavior objectives. Then you will prepare examples, labeled, unlabeled. Then you will present it in the class. When you present it in the class, you will show first the labeled examples. You will tell learners to write the attributes, essential, non-essential. Then you will give the definition. Then you will present unlabeled examples, and then you will tell students to present their more examples, right? So this is how you will plan your lesson. Thank you so much. If you have any doubts, you have any questions, you could put in the chat box. I have 5 more minutes. I will answer. Yes, now you may ask for your attendance link. It was really nice that I did not see anyone asking for attendance link. It was really very nice of you, all educators, all teachers. Highly obliged. Thank you so much. And keep this forever in mind. Anyone has any doubt, please let me know. I would always wish to take, if sir is listening over there, this session with less number of teachers where I can actually do it with them, maybe online, but with less number where I can actually make them do the lesson plan and have an interaction session. No doubts, how nice, very nice. Your attendance link will be there. Mark your attendance, please. Thank you so much. Hope that something you understood today, and little difficult session, but hope you have got something new. Thank you so much. सर आप अटेंडेंस लिंक डाल दीजिए टीचर्स के लिए.
यस मैम,
यस,
डाल दे रहे हैं.
दे
सुधीर
वर
जी,
वेरी सच
आप
में.
मैम हो गया क्या? फिनिश हो गया
हाँ,
सेशन?
हाँ, उनको कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है, सेशन
जी।
हो गया. 5 मिनट क्वेश्चन के लिए रखा था, लेकिन
जी।
दे हैव नो क्वेश्चन. सर कभी भी अगर आप कम स्टूडेंट्स टीचर्स के साथ करना है तो आई वुड बी हैप्पी टू डू दिस, बिकॉज
थैंक यू।
ये ना इंटरैक्टिव होता तो बहुत अच्छा होता. और
जी 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 मैम,
यस यस, थैंक यू सो
थैंक
मच.
यू मैम, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू.
सुधीर सर लिंक डाल दें.
हाँ डाल
हाँ
दो.
लिंक डाल दीजिए, रिकॉर्डिंग ऑफ कर दीजिए।
अच्छा ठीक है, ठीक.
आई विल स्टॉप प्रेजेंटिंग.
थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू
Thank-
वेरी मच फॉर दिस नाइस सेशन मैम।
थैंक यू सर. आई होप टीचर्स को अच्छा लगा, कुछ
यस
नया
मैम,
मिला, और प्रैक्टिस करना चाहिए टीचर्स ने. थैंक यू सो मच.
थैंक यू मैम, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू. चलिए आई लीव द सेज.
थैंक यू मैम,
यस,
बाय।
बाय बाय.
सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स को एक बार फिर आगाह किया जाता है कि समय पर ट्रेनिंग लिंक ज्वाइन करें।